This week's cold case is on the disappearance of Dennis Martin. Last week we covered Marjorie West that went missing Mother's Day 1938. This week we're covering Dennis Martin that went missing Father's Day weekend 1969. Here's what was happening in the world in 1969. Richard Nixon was our 37th president. Sesame Street made its debut on television in 1969. More than 350,000 music fans attended Woodstock. And while most families sat together in front of their TVs to watch Neil Armstrong take the first steps on the moon in July 1969, the Martins were still searching for their son, Dennis, in the Great Smokey Mountains of Tennessee. Dennis Martin was born June 20th, 1962 to William and Violet Martin. On June 14th, 1969, 6 days before Dennis's birthday, or Denny, as his friends and family called him, Denny's father, William Martin, took his father, Clyde, and his own two boys, Denny and Denny's 9-year-old brother, Douglas, on a Father's Day camping trip to the Great Smokey Mountains National Park. This was a tradition. Every Father's Day, they would hike and camp. This Father's Day, they hiked from Cades Cove to Russell Field and camped overnight. The next day, they hiked from Russell Field to Spence Field, where they planned to spend the night. William overheard Denny, his older brother Douglas, and some other children from a separate family that had joined them that weekend were planning a prank on their dads. Around 4:30 in the afternoon, the boys planned to hide at the edge of the field, sneaking around, and as the adults walked by, the children would jump out and scare them. William saw Denny walk in a different direction, but figured it was all part of the plan. However, what William didn't know is Douglas and the other children told Denny he needed to walk alone and away from them because he was wearing a bright red t-shirt, short green trousers, and a low-cut Oxford shoes. They didn't want that color to spoil their sneak attack. When the boys jumped out to scare the grown-ups, no one immediately worried that Denny wasn't with them. William assured he would be right behind the other boys, but William knew in less than 5 minutes that something was wrong. The family split up and started calling for Denny, but there would be no answer. William and his father, Clyde, decided to head in opposite directions in their search for Denny. William headed west, calling for his son along the way, backtracking to previous camps in case Denny got confused and went back there. Denny's grandfather, Clyde, made the 9-mile hike to the ranger station and made it there around 8:30 p.m., 4 hours after Denny went missing. What made matters worse is a storm came through and about 3 inches of rain fell, which complicated the already difficult search. Besides the rough terrain, it was now dark and the fear of dangerous wildlife had them all worried for Denny. However, that didn't stop some of the rangers from searching through the night. In 1969, there wasn't any search and rescue operation planned for the park. The National Park Chief organized a search crew that set up a headquarters camp in Spence Field and began their search early on June 15th. The initial search crew consisted of 30 men with 5 leaders and 10 additional crews of 2 to 4 men. But by 1 p.m., the poorly coordinated search party grew to about 240 people, with Boy Scouts volunteering to help along the way, with rescue squads from the North Carolina side of the Smokies who brought in jeeps, trucks, and helicopters. Throughout the next 2 weeks, more and more volunteers would arrive on site to join in the search. Eventually, more than 1,400 people, including park rangers, county and state search and rescue officers, National Guard, Green Berets, and locals who wanted to help would take part in the search that had no clear leadership and coordination. Day after day, more people arrived to join in the effort, unaware that the large number of search teams were likely destroying evidence or any clues that could lead them to Denny. Denny's father, William, rode in a helicopter in search of Denny. Even some psychics called with tips. The search team followed up in every tip, yet Denny was not found. When the search party passed the 1-week mark, the FBI was brought in to investigate whether Denny's disappearance could be a kidnapping. The FBI even investigated the Martins to see if they had any enemies. They did not. The Martins noted some things were suspicious and asked them to investigate those. While the FBI did investigate, and assuming nothing came from those suspicions, because nothing ever came from it. Though the public can't know for sure because the FBI has refused to release the official report on the investigation into Denny's disappearance. Countless Freedom of Information requests have been filed by reporters, members of law enforcement, and others who want to know more of what the FBI found, but the report has never been released. On Denny's 7th birthday, park ranger records show plans for how to proceed if Denny was not found alive. The following day, with more than 1,400 volunteers on scene and concerns that the volunteers could do more harm than good, complicated the uncoordinated search, park officials asked the volunteers to stop joining the search that had now covered more than 56 square miles. The cost of the search and the fading hope of finding Denny alive led park officials announcing on June 25th that the search for Denny would be ending soon. A heartbroken and devastated Martin family broke camp and drove home to Knoxville. The FBI reported they found no evidence of kidnapping. The Martins offered a $5,000 reward for information, but on September 11, 1969, the park officially closed their search on Denny. To this day, no one knows what happened to Denny. We only have theories, including the possibility that Denny walked away. He became disoriented and kept wandering in rugged terrain and perished due to the elements or possibly after being attacked by wildlife. The theories the Martins were more inclined to believe was the theory that would have meant Denny could have survived and did not perish in the park. They strongly believe he had been kidnapped. There have been tips and leads through the years, like the tip that came in 1985 from illegal ginseng hunters. A few years after Denny's disappearance, the men were hunting illegally when they found a skull and remains of what appeared to be a small boy. The skull was allegedly in an area about 3 miles from Spence Field, where Denny was last seen alive. Fearing arrest, almost 2 decades passed before one of the men called in the tip. By the time a search team looked for the remains, their search came up empty. Too much time had passed and nothing was found. The failure to properly organize the search for Denny Martin led the National Park Service to overhaul their search and rescue operations throughout the National Park Service. Agencies across the United States and around the world followed their lead. Due to changes made in large-scale search and rescue operations following Denny Martin's disappearance in 1969, lives have been saved. It's just so tragic that these changes didn't happen in time to bring Denny home. Here is an age-progressed photo of Dennis Martin and what he may look like today at 54 years old. Dennis Martin went missing June 14, 1969. He was 6 years old, 4'1", he weighed 55 pounds, and he has brown hair and brown eyes. If you have any information on Dennis Martin, call 865-436-1230. If you like this video, give it a like. Also, follow and/or subscribe so you don't miss any future videos. Make sure to check out our shorts and reels as we post daily. And if you have a cold case that you want covered, be sure to let us know in the comments. Thanks for watching. Bye, guys.